Let's have an honest conversation about the wide receiver coach in Nebraska, Garrett McGuire. Garrett McGuire has drawn a lot of attention from the Nebraska fans and some of the more in-the-weeds college football fans, because you look at him and you say, how old is he? 24 years old, and he's a position coach at an FBS Power 5 institution. Most guys Garrett McGuire's age, to be real with you, were either coaching high school ball or grinding like 18 hours a day, sleeping in the office as a GA. Now, Garrett McGuire may be sleeping in the office and he may be grinding, but he's not on the GA kind of pay scale, all right? I can guarantee you that. I want to talk about this a little bit more because I was fortunate enough to be teammates for a very brief period of time for Garrett McGuire, and I think that there's a little bit more than what meets the eye to this whole situation. And Matt Rule has talked a lot about Garrett McGuire. He's got a lot of questions about Garrett McGuire in some part because of his age, but I just wanted to dispel this right now. Garrett McGuire has got all the coaching chops required to do this job. Okay, Garrett McGuire is emphatically qualified to do this job. And I'll also say this, Garrett McGuire, while I know him, I wouldn't say he's someone that, we're not close, we're not, like best friends texting all the time. Tremendous respect for the guy. So I'm saying this without any bias. Very, very good coach. Knows football. Comes from a football family. His dad's the head coach at Texas Tech. He has the chops to do this job. And if you don't believe me, you don't want to take my word for it, look at my guy's resume. One, played quarterback at a Power 5 school, so has gone through the grind of being a player, gets football. Second piece of that, he was a coach at the NFL level, was on the Panthers staff for 2 years. Matt Rule, when he took the job at Carolina, could have gone out and hired, anybody and anybody to be in his staff. It's like, Garrett McGuire, I want you on my staff. When you have options and you still choose an individual, I think that speaks volumes. And also, I'll say this, Matt Rule said on a podcast with Bussin' with the Boys, phenomenal program, I'm going to have a hard time keeping Garrett McGuire on my staff. Like, at some point in time, he's going to be a head coach. There are going to be people beating down my door trying to get Garrett McGuire away from Nebraska. So I just want to make sure that's out there. Garrett McGuire, from his resume, from his pedigree, from what he did as a player, he's got the juice to be a coach at Nebraska. This is all very much so well-earned. The other thing I want to say is, even with his age, he demands respect. He demands respect, and he lets his work speak for himself. I'm saying this now from personal experience. Garrett McGuire, smaller in stature individual, walked on at Baylor as a quarterback, and I will just say this. Whenever he had something to say, whether it was during a team drill or whether it was in workouts, whether it was player-led activities, when he had something to say, you listened. And that's saying something for a walk-on. Because I'll say this, having been a walk-on myself for a period of time, you are trying to earn your keep. Like, you're not a scholarship guy. You don't have the 5 stars next to your name. You're not coming in with a lot of buzz. You are there to work. And so when I showed up there, he'd been in the program for a while. He had earned the respect of all of his teammates. He had earned the respect of all the coaching staff. Like, he was very visibly one of the leaders of that football team. And again, a walk-on quarterback. He's signaling the plays in. He's not the starting quarterback. But everybody respected Garrett McGuire. I believe that's the same thing that his players will respond to. That's the same impact he's going to have when he walks into the locker room and talks to his receivers, or whether he's in the meeting room talking to his receivers or the rest of the team. Like, he's a guy that people will respect because of how he handles his business. You'd think, okay, 24-year-old, he's probably a guy that, he just is happy to be a coach. Maybe he's capitalizing on the networking. You hear that a lot. It's all about who you know in the coaching world. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. At 24, I guess he was at this point in time, maybe 22 years old, just got a job with the Panthers. I'm doing radio in Waco, Texas. He's a Baylor guy. I said, Garrett, would love to have you on the show. And Garrett responds, and we're doing Twitter DM at this point in time. He says, hey, I appreciate that. I can't jump on the show with you, brother. Sorry. So I'm like, hey, all good, man. I'm sure you got things to do. Do you mind if I ask why? He's like, honestly, man, I just want my work to speak for itself. Mic drop. That story right there should tell you everything that you need to know about Garrett McGuire. Has a chance to jump on radio. We're going to ask him questions about, man, what's it like being an NFL coach? What's it like being on staff at the Panthers? Like, this is a great opportunity for you. Can you believe it? I mean, quite frankly, we're ready to hype him up. We're ready to talk about how cool this is for him being 20-something and being on NFL staff. He's like, no, man, I want my work to speak for itself. Speaks volumes to his character, speaks volumes to the kind of coach he's going to be. And I promise you, I hope he stays in Nebraska for a very long time. But I think Matt Rhule is on the money. There's going to be a lot of other programs, whether it's at the NFL level, whether it's at the collegiate level, they're going to want to get Garrett McGuire to be a part of their operation. So, one, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, all that good stuff, at JD Pickell. We appreciate y'all locking in right here. We talk ball every day. All right, so thank you for that. Now, with that out of the way, the one thing that I think people are really going to harp on, and it might be a cop-out at times, young guy, like I said, 24 years old, people are going to question, well, can he recruit, right? I mean, he's not walking in there with, an illustrious NFL career behind him. He's not walking in saying, I've coached 20 years of ball. Is he going to be able to recruit the kind of guys that we need to get here in Nebraska? Because the concern is fair. You have to recruit at the consistent level to compete with your opposition within the Big Ten. I mean, you got to develop. You got to be able to do all the right things once you get into the operation. But recruiting is paramount. Everybody knows it. I would say this. How often do you go on Twitter, you turn on the TV, and you see a coach that's just, quite frankly, acting way too youthful? Like, I'm not going to name names, but y'all know what I'm talking about. You go on Instagram, you go on TikTok, and you see coaches just looking silly with recruits. They're dancing, they're taking, funny pictures. And I get it, man. Do what you got to do to get the recruit. I'm all about it. It is what it is. But to be real, there's a certain element of, yes, that's authentic that you mean that you are trying to get this recruit, but what you're doing there, that's a little bit fake. And I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying overall, a 50-plus-year-old man trying to relate to a 17-year-old kid, there's a gap there. There's a gap there. So with Garrett McGuire, here's my question. Who better to connect with a youthful person than a youthful person? If I'm 24 years old, I'm not that far removed from playing the game. I can walk into a high school and say, listen, less than a decade ago, I was in your shoes. I know what you want to do. I'm very much so in touch with modern college football as well as kids these days. I know what to get, or I know how to get what you want to get done. And if I'm a Nebraska fan, I'm saying, okay, this is an elite tool because he is going to be able to connect with kids better than anybody else in the country. And though, by the way, has the NFL staff credentials to say, oh, by the way, I know ball really well. And we're already seeing it come into effect with the stories we're hearing about, guys coming into his wide receiver room and watching tape and getting snacks. He knows how to connect with these people. So again, this is not me saying, hey, this is my best friend, Garrett McGuire. I'm just telling you from what I've seen, from the outside looking in and from being his teammate for a very short period of time, I wholeheartedly believe Garrett McGuire is up to the task. And I think he's a rising star in this industry. I really do. It's very early. We'll definitely revisit this as we get more data and this story goes on, but Garrett McGuire is going to do good things at Nebraska. You heard it here first. Make sure you're locked in right here. We talk ball every day. You're a junkie. We're junkies. It's a great system we got going here with college football. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on the gram, at JD Pickell. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.